first tour we did after Between the Heart and the Synapse started the end of January. I think it started January 23rd at the Call in Providence, Rhode Island. It was the Lions, Sirens, Bears, Oh My tour with As Tall as Lions was headlining. Cartel and us were kind of splitting the opening spot, and it was a great time. We became immediate best friends. You know, we're still close with both of those bands.
Every night was just like this. I couldn't wait to just get there and hang out with the dudes, play shows, watch both bands. You know, the best part about that tour, I would say, would be during showtime, where at least 2 or 3 of the guys from every band would be on side stage for everybody's band and just air drumming and just like, you know, just getting into the music.
It was at this, I forget what the club was called, but I remember seeing As Tall as Lions and thinking that they looked like the most stuck-up posh band of all time. But I was just because I was pretty, like, I was like intimidated by them. They were all dressed very nice. They had very nice coats, and they seemed very unapproachable. And I was obviously wrong. Like they're like one of the nicest bands there is, and like the coolest people there are.
When Between the Heart and the Synapse came out, probably one of the sweetest things was going to music stores and seeing it. I think my dad probably bought 100 copies, so I appreciated that.
I mean, when we heard the masters of the record and when we finally got to see it all as a completed package and with the artwork that we had, you know, really tried to get the way that we wanted, I think it was just such a rewarding experience because it was seeing something all the way through.
People didn't know what to make of the band, though. I think that can be said for us beginning to end. I think even when we broke up, there's plenty of people that didn't know what to make of the band and didn't really give us a chance. You know, a bunch of stores weren't carrying it. Newberry Comics wouldn't carry it at first. And we were like, what the hell, you know, like, we're a Boston band, help us out.
So it was awesome in one sense, but it was also this beautiful thing we were doing was all of a sudden like, how many records did you sell? I was like, who cares? Just, we came out with the record, that's all we care about. I remember being told, hey, you should really look at how many Gatsby's American Dream sold. You should sell the same as Volcano.
I felt really accomplished. I think we all felt really accomplished and proud and confident. But at the same time, after the first week and we saw how like relatively small the sales were, that's I think when it really became apparent how small we were going to be. Like how the destiny of the band wasn't really, you know, I think what we all had known from the beginning, but it just became very clear. Like, we're not going to blow up. This band's not going to get huge or anything like that.
After that, we did our first Warped Tour, which was our first and only Warped Tour, the summer of 2005.
Yeah, it was our first bus tour, which was like, all right, awesome, we're on a bus. And so pulling into the parking lot, all these beautiful new Prevost buses, like the extending apartment sides, and then there's this one bus, blue, ugly bus that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Like the AC didn't work, the fridge stopped working, the toilet leaked piss all over everyone's bags.
Yeah, I think that first Warped Tour was hellish, to say the least. I mean, it was awesome in that, you know, we got to do it and we had that opportunity to play in front of those people and travel to new places and new cities, but I mean, I have absolutely no idea how I survived physically on that tour. I mean, it was like, you know, 100 degrees every day.
So we all lost a lot of weight. We all got really tan, and we all played in like shorts and no shoes some of the time. So it was not the best way to, and not the best impression to give to, you know, a Warped Tour crowd. But we're not really a Warped Tour band, I guess.
Right now we're in Syracuse. We just got back from Hooters, and we are on the Acceptance Tour.
That Acceptance Tour also had some bands that got huge afterwards, and very glad that I met those people when I did. From, you know, Augustana, who's a great band, and they've been very successful. Panic, Cartel, Paramore was on it for a little bit. it's just crazy. It's crazy that most of those bands had some serious radio play and sold some serious records, and here the Receiving End of Sirens were thrown into this.
I think that was the funniest thing is I think, you're on tour and you see this band opening for you and you know for a fact that their destiny is to blow up. But you're just in this weird frame of time where you can be the bigger band, And it was just like, holding on to that idea, on that tour. We get to the club about 3 hours late on average. I go back to sleep in one of the benches, and then everyone else does merch, while Adrian talks on his phone. And then we play the show, usually. Kids don't like it, and usually. And we leave, most of us sad and crying.
Yeah, Casey. Saw everyone else selling merch. Where were you?
I was just probably sleeping, talking to some fans, thinking about stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I did come back here once, and our manager said go wait outside like a good kid. And Alex was here and also shooed me away.
I think we kicked Casey out of the band for the first time on that tour. Anybody bring that one up yet? Yeah, we got in a big fight with him at his house in California, and we're going to kick him out of the band, or he was going to leave the band. We're going to leave him at his house, and we're trying to figure out all these ways that we're going to go on with this tour without Casey, who's like the backbone of our band at that point.
We effectively said, you can't be in our band anymore, and had a blowout of a fight that lasted about 3 hours. And, we eventually all came around, made some big-time resolutions, and professed that we were going to change, and that we were going to try and do things to, stop things from going the way they had been going on a personal level. Things that would try and bring us together, and things that would try and solve problems before they turn into, big issues.
There were a number of times that they called me and said, we can't deal. And it was bizarre to me, because I'm sitting at home, and it's like I see them in the studio. I see everybody in their best light. I have no idea what's going on tour. And I would get these calls, and they'd be like, Casey said this, and Casey said that. And I'm like, who the fuck cares? You guys make music together. What the fuck are you talking about? You guys make amazing music together. Shut the fuck up, suck it up.
Just so they know we're...
Just basically you don't have to touch it, just stand.
The Llama Farm was a pretty significant place in Trio's history. It's in East Killingly, Connecticut, kind of by the border of Rhode Island. It's home to Alex's aunt and uncle, Pav and Cab. The first time we went in the Llama Farm was before we did Taste of Chaos in 2006, which started in February, and we were there during the winter. Rehearsing, writing songs for what we hoped would become the new record. And while we were there at the Llama Farm, we got the opportunity to record a song for the Superman soundtrack, The Sound of Superman, for the new Superman movie.
Covered a song by Stereophonics called Superman.
I remember that was my first chance to somewhat produce something for the band, and I don't even know if they would remember it that way or not, but it kind of felt like I was producing something,
Casey recorded the song in the basement of the Llama Farm, and it doesn't sound like it was recorded in the basement without any studio capabilities whatsoever, but he worked his magic and used some samples from Squiz and stuff, and they made it happen.
I feel like we're more close. I feel like I should be dressing.
I think Taste of Chaos was extremely important in that we got to play for a ton of people. I mean, I remember the first night, waiting to go up on stage, and I was half petrified. I mean, I think it was San Diego, and there were 10,000 people in this arena, and it was absolutely unbelievable. Hear all these heavy bands, and I felt like we were always on the cusp of both ends, and we were kind of heavy, but we were kind of more melodic. And I had no idea how we were going to be received, but that tour was really special in that we got to meet Thrice and really talk to those guys and sit down with them. I believe that's why we were on the tour in the first place.
It went well. There was actually way more people than I thought. And we got free drinks.
I think that they're onto something new, and I think they're very advanced for how young in the band's career it is, and I'm really excited to see where they go. I don't think they're going to put any limitations on themselves, and they're not worried about, what's cool or what looks cool or any of that garbage. It's all about the music, and I really respect that and appreciate that.
It's not very often that you get to see a band that has 3 singers, which all their voices are absolutely amazing. It's something you don't see very often, and they're very talented dudes, and hopefully they'll take us on tour next year when they're like triple times platinum, you know what I mean?
Well, right before the New Hope tour, our first real headlining tour, I had gotten into a fairly serious accident in Boston. I was visiting some friends up there.
And Alex was doing something in the stairwell of the dorm, and he went to slide down the railing and got caught and flipped over the edge of the railing and fell about 10 to 15 feet straight down onto the concrete stairs.
I had a punctured lung, a broken scapula or shoulder blade. Some ribs were bruised and broken.
When that happened, we had a show at Lupo's like 2 weeks later. So our boy Jamel he's from this band called The Cadence. He came and was going to take his parts. I spent the whole time teaching him, the whole set. He did an awesome job. And then Alex was just like, I'm going to do this. He's like, I got my arm brace off. He's like, I'm going to try it out.
Today is the first day of tour. Headlining tour, the New Hope tour.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good. Of course, in Classic Trios fashion, if you look at the clock, it says 2 o'clock. Our load-in, 2 o'clock. We're still at the Llama Farm, but we're leaving now. We had to do a marathon cleaning session. What? Yeah, just follow me. And now we're going to embark on our 6-week headlining journey, starting right now.
A lot of things happened really quickly that year. I mean, all of the things with, between the Heart and the Synapse and the new tours and the new people we were meeting and all that stuff. And I think that, we might have put a little bit too much aside in that, when we had problems with each other or, wanted to address certain social things, we didn't, because we'd think about, it'll all get worked out. And I think that eventually it didn't. I mean, it didn't get worked out. It just, everything kept building up. And these could be little things. At this point, I don't even remember, but.
A year ago today, the record came out. It was released April 26th, 2005.
So what are you doing to celebrate?
And tonight we're playing in Boise, Idaho. I couldn't have asked for a better show. Like, when I heard the news that there were 3 pre-sales for this show, I was so excited. I was like, like tonight it's gonna be like the sickest celebration for 1 year of our record being released.
We're in Boise, Idaho, playing in front of a guaranteed 3 people. So it was tough, man. That was another point in our career where we really had, to come together to get through certain points, because it was hard. It was harder than any of us had thought. You know, on paper you look at it and say, all right, we're going to go tour and we're going to play all these shows and it's going to be fun, it's going to be a great time. But you know, when you get to a place like Boise, Idaho, or you know, or you're stuck in a place like Arkansas, or your van's breaking down, or you have no money, don't know how you're going to eat, you start questioning, why am I doing this?
Oh, hey. One thing that happened, which was tough, is I was getting increasingly worse and worse, my health. And I was trying so hard to do everything I could for the band. I didn't have anything other than that band. And I devoted every ounce of myself to it. And I think a lot of it got overlooked as trying to be something else, like by doing videos or by trying to produce a song. It's like, oh, Casey's trying to do videos now, or Casey's trying to be a producer now. When in reality, it was just like, I felt like I had these talents, or at least these abilities. Health relationship lasted, you know, and I started to get so angry that I felt like nobody cared if I was sick, you know. Everyone thought that it was just my fault. And even if it was, which, you know, by all accounts, it was my fault that I was sick. But I thought that I was in a situation where people would help. I thought I was in a situation where it was like brothers, you know, if one of your brothers, even if he has some issues, like, you're going to help him be better. And, you know, it just wasn't like that. And I got so angry that I just became a dick and like totally unapproachable and just bitter. And I started to really notice it and how not cool I was anymore, and how hard it was for people to get along with me. And there was a drive, actually the drive when Andrew told me his idea for the name of the next record. Andrew told me that he was reading a book and he was like, you know, I think that this would be a really good name for a record, is The Earth Sings Me Fa Me. And I was into that, and I, you know, in like a moment of real pain, kind of just let him know. I was like, I'm really sorry for, I don't know if he even remembers, but I told him, I was like, I'm really sorry for the way that I've been acting, and I don't know what's really wrong with me, but I'm sick and I need to get better. And he was like, well, do you really think things would be different if you got better? And I genuinely told him that I did believe that. And so in my head at that point, I thought, okay, you know, at least I've like told him how I feel, and maybe, you know, they'll just give me time.
When you're on tour for that long, there is like a warped sense of reality and like what's going on. There's definitely a good deal of friction and tension amongst everyone. In particular, it just so happened to be that it was with Casey for all of us. In looking back on it, a lot of it probably had to do with his health and that he wasn't happy and he wasn't feeling well. And I know myself speaking, if I felt that way, I probably wouldn't be too happy and wouldn't be too fun to be around, you know, either.
I would say we're all really conscious of each other's feelings, but we handled it in the completely wrong way. I think we all held it inside and didn't really talk about our frustrations and our like discomforts with each other and the way people were treated. I didn't like the fact that my privacy was taken away from me. Like my whole life revolved around this. And so by the end of that tour, all of us had our own kind of reasons for why it wasn't working out, and it all came down to Casey.
None of us had really talked to Casey for about 2 weeks, which is crazy because how can you tour with someone and not talk to him? But his new girlfriend had been coming to all the shows and he was driving to the shows with her. So we really weren't seeing him except when we were on stage. None of us were talking and we couldn't even look each other in the eye. It was just bad. Tensions were really at, their peak.
I thought, okay, as soon as this tour is done, I'm gonna go home to my parents, take some time, go to the doctors, see what's going on, what kind of sickness I have, and then the last day of tour, no one was talking to me, and I remember walking up to everyone and being like, "Is everything cool? What's going on?" And I remember looking at Nate and saying, "Dude, I feel like I'm getting kicked out or something." And Nate looked back at me. He was like, "No, you don't have to worry about that, man. You just need to get home. We all just need to get home and take some time off. Everyone's just tired. Don't worry about it." And I went up to Julio from As Tall as Lions, and I was like, "Dude, something weird going on that no one's telling me." And Julio looked at me. He's like, "Dude, don't ask me that." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Just don't ask me that." And I was like, "Come on." So there's something. He's like, No. And so, the night ended and I went home. Within hours of touching down, I went on my email and opened up an email, and it was addressed from the Receiving End of Sirens.
By no means did we do it in the appropriate way. We emailed him. It was completely inappropriate, but it was just the way we worked. Looking back on it, it was inappropriate. But it was the way, even Casey communicated with us best through email. It's just because it takes away that human interaction. There's no room left to basically be like, "Well, when you said this, you gave me this weird look with it." There's no room for that. It was just how we felt we needed to do it.
For a while, he felt like the odd man out, that he came into a scenario of 4 best friends and was trying to work his way in, like the weird new kid from down the street that moves into your neighborhood, and I hate that he felt that way, and I wish I'd done things differently to make him feel more accepted, but in an attempt to be honest, that's what happened, and I think all in all it was handled poorly by everyone, but it was what had to be done at the time.
Sometimes Casey would sit, in the basement for hours working on a sequencing part for a song, and here we would all be hanging out and not involved. And I think that's tough. I think we put him in that position by not letting him participate in some of those social things. And I'm not saying we caged him up somewhere and threw away the key, but certainly it's how could we ever show our appreciation for something like that? I mean, this man moved across the country, far from his family, and put all this time in, and it's just tough. So many different things like that, so many different levels, and here we are. So.
Where's my phone?
Where is his phone?
Yo, you dropped it. Yo.
What was that?
Oh.